This lesson is about nets. It says we're going to be able to identify and sketch the nets of three-dimensional figures, or given nets, identify and sketch the three-dimensional figures they represent. Okay, as you've probably learned before, I'm not much of an artist, but we can try and draw the idea here. So in the first part, what is a net? A net is a two-dimensional drawing of a three-dimensional object. And it asks me here to try and draw the net of a rectangular or triangular prism. So the idea is that you're going to name these three-dimensional figures by the shape of their base. And we're going to look at a lot of them here and look at some examples. But if I was going to try and draw the net of a rectangular prism, okay, it's going to have four sides and two bases. And the sides of prisms are always rectangles. So I'm going to try here and draw these four sides. And then I'm going to put the base over here. Okay, these bases should be the same congruent. Okay, they don't really look congruent. But that would be the net of a rectangular prism. Whereas you can see that it has, we'll talk more about, but these are the sides or of the prism, and these are the bases. Okay, let me try and draw a triangular prism. Okay. The sides are still going to be rectangles, but the base, which I'm going to put right here, would be triangles. All right, so we're going to look at these shapes, and it'll make a little more sense when you can see them. So let's look at the next definition here, which is a face. A face is, we could call it the side, or it's always a flat surface. Put that form the three-dimensional object. And in this, this is a rectangular prism we're looking at, and it has six sides, or it has two bases and four lateral sides. Okay, the base are going to be two congruent parallel faces. Okay, so in this picture here, the bases are these triangles. This triangle on the bottom and this triangle on the top. Those are our two congruent parallel faces, and then the sides are the rectangles. The base edges are just the edges that form the bases. Okay, so these are your base edges. Here's the bottom base edges. Here's the top base edges. The lateral edges are the edges that connect the bases. So in this picture here, you have choices of what you're going to call your base, because they've highlighted this, and so we're going to call that our base. So that means this would be the base, and then over here, the one that we can't really see is our other base. So the lateral edges would be, these edges here. Okay, the vertex or the vertices, if you have more than one, or let me say, they are the corners. Sorry. Right here. These are the vertices, and of course there's one kind of hidden back there. All right, so those are the vertices. So those are our definitions. All right. Draw a net that would form a cube and one that would not. Again, I'm not very good at this, but at drawing. You can look these up on the internet and get some much better pictures than the ones I'm going to do. But that would form a cube. This one would not. If you had your... And I'm trying to draw those the same size, but that wouldn't form a cube if you built it up. But this one here would definitely form a cube. Okay, so what three-dimensional figures are formed by the given nets? So again, we're going to name them by the shape of their base. And this first one here, I'm going to use this as a base. Okay, this is a rectangular prism. How do we know? Because the sides of rectangular prisms are rectangles. This is a rectangle, this is a rectangle, 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 and the base is also a rectangle. Now in this next one, here are our bases. So their bases are circles. And then when we form this, the lateral face is a rectangle, and this is a cylinder. And in this last one, here's the base. There's only one base. And then the side, it's not really a triangle because it has this curved portion right here. But if we were to fold that up, that would be a cone. Okay? So in example 3, draw 2 different nets that will fold into the 3-dimensional figure below. I'm just going to draw one actually because, again, this isn't my best, but the sides are rectangles, which means it's a prism. And so I could put one here and one here. And those triangles that form the base should be congruent. All right, example 4. Draw a solid that would be formed by the net below from 2 different perspectives. Now this is, I've provided, and I hope that it will print properly, a net for you to print out and actually build this, which is by far the best way to do this. But the main thing is once you start folding these up, you've got to see what the side would look like. And the best way to do this is to physically do it. But I'm going to try here. We see that this, try and do one. So I'm going to start with this right here. Okay, that's on one face. Well, when you move this moon shape up, what's it going to look like next to this right here? The side is going to come up and be kind of on the side. Anyway, please print this out and try and build it yourself. I think that's really going to be the best way. You're going to see that when this folds up, this right here is going to have to be next to that right there. So that would be maybe on this side right here. Okay, and then this moon, or sun, I'm sorry, is also next to it. So maybe that would be back here. Again, I can't draw very well. And you can see then there's a space between those two. And when you move the moon up, what is its perspective to these two here? So I'm going to have a hard time drawing it on here, but please try and build these. And what you do is you draw the net first, put your pictures on the net, and then you build it and look at what happens.